wonderful study that, obviously tau and beta amyloid plaques, the plaques of tangled proteins that clog up the brain basically and are the precursor to Alzheimer's disease and senile dementia, and most of our cognitive decline comes from these two. Well, they said, well, where is this being traced? So they traced the proteins where they were originating from, and they were coming from our gut. Okay, so the question then was, okay, what's creating these? And then the next question was how are they getting into the bloodstream? Our gut has a barrier that would prevent larger tangled proteins like this from passing through. Well, here's what they found. They found that they were being created when we consume animal meats and fats. That these proteins were denatured proteins by pathological bacteria that were just basically processing the animal proteins and then pooping out these tau and beta tangled proteins. Now, normally in a healthy person, they would never get into the bloodstream.
Right.
But here's the problem. When you eat more animal proteins, you cause leaky gut syndrome.
Exactly. Inflammation and leaky gut.
Right. Because of the carcinogenic and inflammatory situation created by the putrescines and cadaverines that are produced by the digestion of animal products, they're causing the permeability. So now it allows these big tangled proteins to enter the bloodstream and then, of course, connect to tissues in the brain and cause that as well. So it's twofold. It's causing the inflammation that open up the gut, and it's creating them, and they're both from animal proteins. So they're not created. It's impossible to create those tangled proteins, tau and beta amyloids, from plant proteins. They don't happen because it's a different bacteria that doesn't produce them.
Right. So, I've said this, and many of the experts in brain health are talking about this now, like Dr. Perlmutter and Bredesen, that these tangles in these proteins, because some of us can have a whole brain full of them and be perfectly cognizant, others can have just a few and not. And what makes that difference?
It's interesting, and the research on lutein showing it being stored in the brain, and that our brain actually accumulates lutein for our entire life. It means more and more of it stays in our brain. So they looked, and up to 80% of all of the lutein that a pregnant mother eats goes to the baby's brain. And that the baby's brain has a supraabsorptive preference for lutein as it hogs it in the brain. So the baby actually pulls lutein out of the bloodstream of the mother to use it to protect the neurons in the brain. They found that they're wrapping lutein around the dendrites in the brain to protect them. And this may have some of the neuroprotective effects that you're talking about from a higher plant-based diet, and why those tangles aren't binding there because of the lutein itself.
That makes a lot of sense. Wow. Boy, I've got a lot of reading to do.
That our brain would accumulate it over a whole lifetime. That
Sure.
means as more you eat, the better it is. So they did that. They looked at cadavers and they opened it up, and those with the highest amounts of stored lutein had the lowest prevalence of cognitive decline.
Then that makes sense why some of us develop then the cognitive decline from the same amount of tangles. Because
because of the neuroprotective effects of the lutein that are in the fruits and vegetables.